Kelly Loeffler. Kelly was the person who she benefited from COVID-19. She got she did insider trading. Pretty much she got privy via Congress in a classified meeting about what was about to happen with COVID-19. She took the necessary measures to save her stock and investments. But yet Kelly Loeffler initially, not afterwards when the election was going on, Donald Trump talked about the $2,000 in direct payments. But initially, Kelly Loeffler was against the bill that was trying to be passed in the Senate. Hey man, Tommy Temper, Nelly 2K subs. Shout out to you, brother. Uh, she was against citizens getting compensated for COVID relief. And yet she goes to her constituents and tells them, oh, you don't need to wear a mask. You don't need to follow social distancing. Things she herself wouldn't do. Now, that's a crime. She was unfit for office. She got voted out. Donald Trump. Donald Trump not only incites the violence that happens, but he also is instrumental in preventing the defense against that violence. He is responsible why the governor of Maryland could not release troops, the National Guard, and also his police from Maryland to the capital city. The Secretary of Defense could not be contacted, I guess, based on Donald Trump's orders. So not only does he incite the violence, but he creates the environment for the violence to be as optimally successful as possible. If it wasn't for the Secret Service and if it wasn't for the Capitol Police's quick assessment of the situation and being able to withdraw the members of Congress and the Senate through escape routes, which were inbuilt into these buildings, there would be death on a monumental scale, a hostage situation, and carnage like you've never seen. I'm listening to a lot of people talk about people innocently going down there, to the Capitol to protest. That was not the case in this case. These people specifically came down to the Capitol to participate in the oversight of Congress and the Senate as they were going through the ceremonies for certification of the votes in the given states. I wanted to be abundantly understood why this president is not fit for office. In fact, I don't even call him a president anymore. What he did, just like Kelly Loeffler, is he created and benefited off of the incitement of violence and then removed the protective services from the equation. The National Guard, the FBI. I would not be surprised if some of the principal administrators, even in the Capitol Police, were instructed by him, or in some way, indirectly or directly, they got instructions to also have the Capitol Police undersized for this particular situation. So this was an experiment in which the most insidious attack on democracy was done. It's a stain on Americans' history, and it will go down like that. And the governor of Maryland, who is a Republican, has called for the removal of the President of the United States. Now, if I'm hearing guys like McConnell and all of these stupid ass Republicans saying, and they're stupid ass Republicans, saying if you do this, it'll be a greater rift and a more divisive country, and they'll shut the fuck up. Like, seriously. It can't get worse than this. And we do not know what Donald Trump will do in the next set of days. The quicker you remove him from the equation and put in Mike Pence, I don't give a fuck who follows Donald Trump. This is about national security right now. This is not about being friendly. This is not people. This is about national security. And the Republicans talking that bullshit, fuck them. But they got to get him out of office. And Vice President Mike Pence and the remaining cabinet and the acting cabinet members need to think very seriously about how they're going to go about doing that. And in the meantime, the Congress and the Senate need to think very seriously about how they're going to vote this guy out. Because that's what's happening. Now, I understand that some of the senators are under fire by people and constituents, but they can always sort that out later. Let me explain what I mean. The truth coming to light can happen later, meaning they can explain the situation and show why necessary steps are needed to be contained. But at this point in time, measures must be taken to contain the situation. The situation is out of control and must be contained. And so that is the priority. Priority one is containment. This is not about politics. This is not, I don't give a fuck what any Republican says and how they try to make it, because they're only thinking politics. They're only thinking it's their guy, it's their Republican guy. That's a disgraceful way for him to go out. They don't, some of them haven't come to the reality of the situation yet. Then there are others that are highly misinformed and they're going spouting bullshit on the Senate floor. What they don't understand, these politicians, is if that horde had gotten in there, it really wouldn't have mattered what they said. They'd all been treated the same way. So if they don't understand the reality of the situation right now, they better get up to speed real quick. Now, all the military people are all saying the same thing: get this guy out of office. There's no dissent among the military. The people who have dissent are the politicians, still playing political games. They need to understand this is not up to politics right now. And the people on the ground, the ones who are not insidious, because what happened was we had extremist right-wing groups that came down on Capitol Hill. That's what really happened. It's not the decent common people. It's not the people that support. The people who support Donald Trump, who are the common people, they may have sentiments like that. They may even somewhat agree with the people who went down there. But that's not the people that went down there. They had some innocent ones, but they're not innocent because they knew what they were going to do. They had misinformed ones who were a cover. Listen to me carefully. They were a cover for the skilled militant ones who were there understanding very well what was going down. Okay? And understood very well the situation. They're not misinformed people. Now, let me just let you know that the country can heal after Donald Trump is deposed of his position of power. It can heal. The American values, and people and fellow citizens can be educated and all of that stuff. That all can work out. And people can disagree. They can even disagree on whether Trump won the election and was stolen. That's all well and good. That process can go on and people can believe what they want to believe. But this is the one thing that's important. Overthrow of the democratic process and overthrow of democratic power is a no-no. People can have all the freedoms in the world you want to have. But just like how if Russia was tomorrow to attack America, everybody would band together. Well, now it's not a Russian attacking America. It's an American attacking America. And that shit ain't no protest. and it is to be taken gravely seriously. I cannot express enough how dangerous this is and what has happened and why this guy who's occupying the presidential position needs to be deposed of it immediately. I can't say it enough. I've repeated this a number of times today. This is something that must be expeditiously and unanimously carried out, and those who are not on board must be looked at and viewed as unpatriotic. I'm sorry, this is just the reality of the situation. Unpatriotic, anti-American, anti-democratic. The line has been drawn in the sand. There is no turning back on this one. This is not party politics. I don't care how informed you think you are or how misinformed you think you are. The actions that happened that directly relate to Mr. Giuliani, Mr. Donald Trump, and his son inciting violence is a no-no. I don't even care if he did the most godly, heavenly thing ever. That action is a no-no, and that immediately disqualifies him. Because if he can go there and cross that line, he'll do it again. And they have already said, his followers have already said, that they're going to do it again. So, I don't want to hear a single partisan person open their mouth and spout rubbish from their mouth. I know that the intelligence community and the military community is fuming over this because they have done everything possible to protect the democratic process. I know they are livid. I know it. After all that work, all that groundwork to protect democracy, and they are waiting. They're chomping at the bit. Okay? But they know they must keep the democratic way of conducting themselves. But they are extremely livid with the situation. I'm pretty sure about it. Because it was democracy that was attacked. And they must not get away. Just like how they hunted down Osama bin Laden. Just as how they got Saddam Hussein. We're going to get this one. He's public enemy. And we're going to get him. You bet your ass we're going to get him. And every single person who has been part of this. And they say they're going to come again. Well, we just chomping at the bit. We're just hoping you do. We're hoping you do. Please do. Please do. Please do. This ain't Germany. This is America. I remember Hitler brought his people inside of the setting to intimidate people so that they would vote his way. He won the elections. He worked on popularism and his charisma. And Donald Trump is trying to play the same game, except he's gotten even more desperate. And he brought his thugs. Why? I'm surprised they ain't in uniform yet. He brought his thugs there. This must be crushed, and it must be crushed speedily, readily, and any single shred of it must be incinerated. You don't raise your hand. You can talk all much you want. You can talk, you can feel how you want to feel. That's the beauty of democracy. But once you hurt just one soul, Be ready to pay the price. You went up in the. You could have gone anywhere. Michigan. They went to the top areas of Michigan, and they attacked, and they even held hostage lawmakers in Michigan. I didn't get as much traction, but this gets everybody's attention, and this is worse than 9/11. I want to cuss, but I'm not going to cuss. This is worse than 9/11. And some people say, oh, Anson, you a Christian. You can't be. This is righteous anger. I have all right to be righteously angry. And I am a Christian. I am a Christian just like everybody else. I'm a Christian like those free evangelicals. I'm a Christian just like those people who support Donald Trump. The difference is you do not spare the rod to spoil the child. And the rod must be brought forth this rounds and used. That's all I got to say for now. But if people don't realize this is a real threat, and I don't want to hear any Republican, don't come to me with that stupidness. Don't come with that rubbish to me. Don't come with buy some time, it's only a couple more days. No, not after militant action like that. It's over. You see how quickly Twitter suspended his account and has shut down everything. You know why Twitter did that? They understood that this man needs to be removed from power. I see other people coming on with some stupid ass things like, oh, well, look now, these tech companies involved in politics. And no, my friend, the regulations of Twitter say if you do have hate speech, hate crimes, or you have incited violence, your account is to be suspended. That's the rules of Twitter. They have not been inconsistent with their rules. They only allowed the president of the United States to use his platform like that because he was the president of the United States. That's where the news came from. But now he is using his platform and his news outlet to incite violence, and they shut his ass down. Now I want to see Congress, these politicians, I want to see. They failed us already. They failed us with the package. They failed us with the payments that people were supposed to get. They failed us. But I want to see now what Congress, particularly Congress, because there was 100 and, I'm going to find the names of all these I want to cuss. I'm going to find all their names. Maybe the next thing I'll do is give you all their addresses. No, I'm just joking. I won't do that. I'm going to find their names of these people. I want you to know who these people are. The 140 of them or something like that voted against the certifying of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we're going to find the 6 senators. There's 12 in all, but 6 of them renounced what they were going to do. They got a fit of conscience after the insaneness, the insanity that happened. Reality checked them. They thought it was just a game. This is not a game. This is not a game. Okay? And for those 140 Republicans who trump up rubbish charges, trying to validate an election having fraud in it when there was none, I will call them for everybody to hear. I want everybody to know who they are. Now, I hear people in certain states threatening Senator Lindsey Graham, through the airports. I think, what's his name? Senator Mitt Romney was also attacked in the airports and stuff. They didn't attack him physically, but They were yelling and screaming at him. Let me just let Mr. Lindsey Graham and also Mr. Mitt Romney let them know this. There are a lot more of us that support you, brother, than those people there. I want you to know that it takes real fortitude of character to be attacked by people in your close circles, to be attacked by your family and your friends and isolated. It takes a lot of character to stand up and do the right thing. They'll appreciate you later on, and they'll look in shame at their attitude and behaviors in the future. But for now, let it be. Godspeed to you, and I hope that they are protecting you. These people must not attack and hurt you physically. And they will live to regret ever doing that to you. They will live to regret it. Because when their eyes are open and the blinds have been pulled off and the scales have been pulled off their eyes, and it will happen, they will look at you and be ashamed of themselves. And you will have to have mercy upon them. But this much I do understand and I do know. This insidiousness and this foolishness must come to an end. And the people that may be around you in your immediate circle may not appreciate what you do right now, but it must be done. A populist opinion is not always the correct one, though most times it is, because people have a sense of when something goes wrong. In this case, the serpent has misinformed them and deceived all of them. The difference between me and others is I see through bullshit. You can't pull bullshit on me just like that. Philadelphia, a swing state. Wisconsin, a swing state. Arizona, a swing state. Michigan, a swing state. They were called swing states for a reason. At the present point in time, these states were governed by Republicans and Democrats. And generally in all those states, except for Michigan, I believe, the head of those states or the secretary of those states are Republicans. Georgia, the majority of people on those boards and so on, I think, were Republicans as well. Those states went the other direction. Now, here's my thing. They're called swing states. Let's start with that. They swing one way or they swing the other way. Wisconsin, I can tell you, on the ground of Wisconsin didn't benefit a lot from Donald Trump's regime and his 4 years. They didn't. And so it is no surprise that they voted for Joe Biden as the alternative. They were like, anything's better than what we got, because they got a bad deal. They got a raw deal. Wisconsin. And I know that from underground, what people were saying there. With respect to the state of Michigan, I don't even know if Michigan has ever, except I think with Barack Obama, I think Michigan has swung almost every single term. They either go Democrat or they go Republican. They keep on ping-ponging. So they were Donald Trump, which was last 4 years, and then they've just swung back to Joe Biden. This is not a surprise. They are swing states. That's why they're called swing states. the state of Georgia. That is the most surprising state of them all. Georgia, which, by the way, has a significant black presence in it, Georgia swung for the first time in its history in the last 30 years or so, I think since Bill Clinton. Georgia hasn't swung to a Democrat in several years. Just about 30 years. It has swung Democratic. And Michigan, by the way, when Michigan swung. I mean, it was strongly Democratic this year or last year, whatever. These are swing states. That's what they do. They swing. They move like pendulums. Georgia was not, I didn't consider Georgia a swing state. It did something we didn't expect it to do. In fact, even in this most recent election, it did something that none of the pundits expected it to do. And supposedly they made the adjustments to whatever happened before. It all goes to show you without going too deep into it, that the claims that these people are making, how, these states have gone against their own constitutions and all this bullshit, how the legislature is not being followed, yet the legislature, part of the legislature is the courts. But anyway, this fake outrage by politicians playing to their base, that nonsense needs to end. You represent your base, no doubt about it, but you must tell the truth to your base. The reason why they have elected you as a representative of them is because they put the responsibility of your governing to them and the information you're supposed to supply them in your hands. You're accountable to them. It's like shareholders of a company, right? I own stock in the company, but I get executives, I get people to run that company for me and represent me and my shares in that company. So no matter what I suggest to the executive, they are the people who understand the running of the company. And therefore, they may disagree with me in how the company is supposed to be run and said, we can't do X, Y, and Z. But I'll still get you your profits. That's what a politician's supposed to be. The politician is supposed to be a lawmaker on behalf of the people they represent. They're supposed to be more in tune with the laws than the people they represent. They're not supposed to let the people they represent tell them what the laws are, because they're supposed to be expert on that. But when we have the politicians knowingly misinforming their population through deception and lies, and then passionately arguing a case that, look, the people say this and that, and fuck the people says this and that. You're the legislature. You're the legal mind. You're supposed to know better. Then misrepresent. I don't care how passionately you misrepresent. When you misrepresent information on the floor, you must be held accountable for it. Because the Constitution was made for men of character. And if you don't have no fucking character, what you doing on the floor? I'm not saying be an idealist. I understand political games and how people play politics. But there is to be a line drawn in the sand somewhere. And that line should have been drawn after that insurgency. And there can be no secession. There cannot be two Americas. Y'all will have to learn how to coexist with one another. even though you disagree with another. And that shouldn't be difficult because if Mitt Romney, for example, and his family, they're separated by political opinion, they still got to live with each other. They still got to deal with each other. Donald Trump still has to deal with his sons and his children, his wife and his ex-wife. They have families. You got to get along somehow, some way. To get a more perfect union, you're stuck with each other. It's like a marriage. Oh, I want a divorce. No, motherfucker. Oh, you want a divorce? Okay. Remember, I got 50% of everything goes to me. Oh, shit, that's too costly. You're going to have to live with one another. But the extremists, the people who have evil agendas, we cannot and will not tolerate them. And Donald Trump is an extremist. You have to know who you're fighting against, and you have to understand who your enemy is. And he is the enemy of the people. Believe it or not. He's public enemy number one. And those extremists who went down to the Capitol and did what they did, and the extremists that did what they did in Washington and in Michigan as well. Those people who actually did those acts and carried them out, and the people who helped to plot and plan with those things, they're not friends of America. And that must be understood clearly. I don't care about their past history. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it. Once they're incarcerated, once they're somewhere away from American society, we can talk about those things. But first, contain them. Isolate them, contain them. Make sure they are incarcerated. And then we can always talk about whatever else after that. We can, if it's possible, you can go visit them, hear their stories, and all of that. But at this point in time, this is too sensitive a time to have those people freely walking around. Travesty of justice that these people were allowed to go free just like that. I can't believe it. It's still something that's like it's scary. It's like that's like the people, crashing the planes into the Twin Towers and they get away scotch-free. Well, I guess some people did get away scotch-free with 9/11. I don't want to go into that, though. That was another set of evil. So, I just wanted to say that this is not a Robin Hood story where, people were able to say, fuck the system. That's not what this is. Of course, some people will view it like that because they have been brainwashed, not understanding that they've been lied to. And what they're doing is based on lies. That's the problem. And let me just make it abundantly clear to everyone out there, whoever watches this video. I want to make it abundantly clear to you. I understand what you mean by Big Brother and Deep State. I understand why these tech companies could be taking over the world. And there must be regulations in place to control them. But what you have to understand is this situation is specifically this situation is one that merits, because it follows the rules of the tech companies, it merits what Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and whatever other social media platform did. It warranted that. It absolutely did. It went against their guidelines and their laws, and they didn't change the goalposts on their guidelines. In fact, if I were them, I'd probably have suspended him a lot sooner. But because he was the president of the United States, he was suspended later. We all abide by Twitter's rules on Twitter, which is why we don't get suspended. I've been suspended a couple times. I've had some accounts suspended. You know why? Because I violated the rules. Not always do I agree with the violation of the rules, and sometimes I challenge it Once upon a time, they suspended my account, and it was draconian, and I argued it. I got suspended for name calling somebody in boxing. I've been kicked out of groups. All kinds of things have happened to me. But at the end of the day, this situation is different to that. I can tell you that for a fact. And while we can dispute and argue and talk about, how we can control these tech companies and these platforms, because, we've had issues with YouTube and all kinds of things have happened. And this is a platform I'm using right now to get to everybody. While that is true, and we mustn't be dependent on any given platform, let me just make it abundantly clear. This situation warrants that they regulate, especially in lieu of the fact that Donald Trump wanted a certain law amended so that these people would be directly responsible for their actions. It just follows that he literally condoned his own suspension from Twitter. So I have no problem. This is the proper use, I think, of a suspension, of an account, permanently suspending account. I think that's an appropriate rule. And the next time he uses Twitter, which he may end up using Twitter again, but I don't know from where, maybe from prison, I don't know. But if he does get a chance to use Twitter again, it should be, I thought just crossed my mind, it was kind of funny. It should be when he's not president. But I don't think he'll ever use Twitter again. I think that opportunity has gone. And I think that by impeaching him, he won't be able to be in political office. He can do things in the background, whatever. But again, that depends on if he is not indicted for crimes against the state. He may end up in jail next. And if I were them, I would make sure he stays there. I'm not joking. Like, this he's dangerous. He's very, very dangerous. And not in some people are dangerous in an informative way and in a good way. He's insidiously dangerous. He's evil dangerous. Like, that's the problem with him. Like, I can't, like, you scratch for words to find something good to say about the guy. So he brings the worst people out. He brings the worst out of people. He's demonic. That's why I said he's evil. Like, that's the dangerous I'm talking about. I'm like the villainous dangerous. Like, I'm not trumping this up either. This is the weird thing about it. Like, I'm not trying to speak evil about this guy. Like, he's really that. Like, this is not even exaggerating. Like, the guy is really just not, he's not a good person like that. He's got some good things about him, and I admire his determination, and I scratch for words, and I always try to find something positive to say about people. And he has a couple positive attributes, but be that as it may, this man doesn't care about anyone except for himself. That leads to just absolute evil. It leads to absolute evil. There's no way else to describe it. I'm sorry. I love to say something good about him like that, but no, he's dangerous. Literally, I'm serious. This is for real. And I hope you can appreciate what I'm saying. And that's why I said the action has to be taken swiftly. It's a season of concern, and I'm dramatizing it so that people will understand how serious it is. I'm not somebody right now. You have to sometimes dramatize these things for people to understand how urgent, how essential it is. It's not to make people panic, but it's to make people very, very concerned and to act in an extremely concise, swift way. Because this is not just an insurgency. This is an infiltration. This is a foreign body exacting its will on the American people. And it is directly linked in some way, shape, or form to Russia and Vladimir Putin. Believe it or not, he has his hands in this. I explained in another video the history behind that to some degree. It was very loose, but so you would understand, since Reagan was the guy that tried to persuade democracy on the Kremlin and on Russia. And Russia, as I said before, was not prepared for that, particularly the capitalistic side of things. They suffered. And they decided to go back the other direction and reclaim lands and reclaim resources that they once had. Sort of like a repeal of what Mikhail Gorbachev started. Putin tried to consolidate and get back territory. And for that, he's responsible for war crimes. He committed war crimes against neighboring sovereign states that once were part of the USSR. And that is what Mr. Barack Obama and the NATO and the United Nations put sanctions on him, and then they were about to convict him of crimes before Barack Obama came out of power. And Vladimir Putin, to get them back, is using this guy in office as a tool to destroy democracy. So this is what is going on, if you don't know and don't understand what's happening. And it's only now I'm telling you guys everything. I want you to understand what's really going on. And of course, inherent in that is several different things going on. That is why Donald Trump has been systematically trying to cripple the national defense. He's been doing it all the time. And then these conspiracy theories were able to become the light of day because people became skeptical of governance, especially after Barack Obama failed to really live up to everything that people thought he should be. And there's a number of people who voted for Barack Obama who ended up voting for Donald Trump because he was like this different guy coming on the scene with a different attitude. I want you to understand, therefore, that, again, people who vote for Trump, I have nothing against you. That is your civic duty. There were different candidates, and Joe Biden became the Democratic candidate, and Donald Trump became the Republican candidate. Once you voted, you did your civic duty. I'm not mad at you for voting for Trump. But now, given what has transpired, you must understand that I can no longer agree with anyone who wants to take action and revolt against the Republic. That is where I draw my line in the sand. And Donald Trump is principally responsible for that happening. And that is why I join in with whatever Democrat or whatever Republican who is saying this man is unfit for office, this man needs to get out of office immediately. Need to beef up national security in every state, including the capital. And the people who have been part of the terrorist act of trying to overthrow the governance, and also the people who did overthrow the governance while it was governing for 5 hours, must all be caught, arrested, tried, and then imprisoned. Those who are not imprisoned would be based on the evidence that has come out that their intentions were never to come down to the Capitol to insurrect. That'll be very hard to prove because of all the information that was given on social media in Reddit forums, on Twitter, Facebook. The specifics was already detailed, so that'll be very hard for those participants of that rally to prove. Now let me just show you how much of a liar Donald Trump is. Notice my language. Notice I emphasize on liar. Okay? I deliberately said that to evoke emotion and also to let you understand how disgusted I am with the situation. This man says, I'm going to walk with you. Remember that? Down Philadelphia Avenue. And then he turns and he goes to the White House. He lied. And he's been a liar, and he's been lying to you every single time. He has lied so many times in 4 years, but we, and I particularly, tried to ignore all of that, tune it out. He has lied about the election results. He has lied about fraud. He has lied about corruption. He has lied about you being despicable when he believes in his heart you are precious to him. Those of you who did the uprising. He has sent you as lambs to the slaughter to do his bidding. And he must pay for that. I watched this poor lady as her son was being arrested. A son that had a promising political future, but bought into the bullshit of Trump. And she asked, as any mother would, that the cameraman would move back. And she went straight into the camera and said, "Thank you, Donald Trump," and walked away. She felt betrayed. A lot of you who are under his spell, when you come out, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be angry. But don't be angry. But you'll have to go through the process of being angry that you were lied to, that you bought into a deception. You'll wonder, how was I so stupid to buy into this guy's bullshit? Don't worry. I've been there. I've been there too. But in a different venue. It's okay. Once you come around, that's what counts. All those people in Trump's cabinet who resigned, it's okay. You're human. I've been manipulated myself a number of times. Still to this day, I get tricked. But once you know the truth, once you snap into reality, don't go back there. Be careful. Always weigh all options. Always look at everything. Be careful. Be slow to speak, quick to listen. I was listening to some senators in the Senate, and I noticed the senator, he said, he had listened to all sides. He had weighed the matter. He had looked at different information. And he came to the conclusion that the elections were conducted as well as an election could be conducted. The senator hadn't given his prognosis until that very moment. Sometimes we need to collect as much information as possible. Somebody might ring an alarm bell. Try to look at all sides of the equation before you move and act. I was listening to Chaplain Barry Brooks, I believe is his name, the chaplain for DC. And he was saying even a fool is seen as wise when he's silent. You see, less is more. Less is more. Now, I said a lot of things on here, and I leave all documents. I try not to delete anything on here. You guys know I talk boxing, but I talk other things in a given period of time. I leave everything as records. Why remove it? For what? Somebody's going to have a recording of it somewhere. I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life. But when I realize I'm wrong, I'll let you know, oh, shoot, I am wrong. I spread some information that was wrong. I spread information about Mauricio Suleiman saying that Devin Haney is the true WBC champion. He never said that. I tried to find it, but he never said that. I borrowed it from Blue Blood Sports TV. I was wrong. And when people set me straight, I said, you know what? I was wrong. See, there's nothing wrong with saying you're wrong. Once you understand you went wrong and you're not trying to do it again. But when you're wrong, and you know you're wrong, but instead of admitting that, you decide to still argue, that is deceptive. That is being intellectually dishonest because you know you are wrong. Congressmen and senators, there are 6. I appeal to you and to your conscience. Do not sell your soul and your character to the nearest bidder. Every single one of you knows damn well that the elections were not stolen. And every single one of you know damn well that the states acted legally. Whether you agree or do not agree with the way how they acted doesn't make them less legal. Once something is passed in a court of law, it has gone through the legislative branch of a given country, state, etc. I say this to let you know that unless you have gotten another court to overturn the court ruling, it is law. Therefore, once you go down the road of invalidating any court of the land without another court invalidating it, you are speaking a lie. And you are the one who is acting illegally. So, you can debate what is constitutional and what is not. But the one thing you cannot do is reverse a ruling that has been given in a court of law and try to denounce the court of law, because your ambit is not that. Now, we have covered that, because that's very important for people to understand. Once that has been covered, there was nothing illegally done in the elections as far as we do know. There was no widespread fraud. And for all those people who or following Donald Trump and have already accepted the results, kudos to you. To the people who have not accepted the election results, I ask you, where is the evidence that the election results were fraudulent? If you cannot answer that question, then you are only acting on suspicion, and until you bring evidence of such, which none of these people have done, they have brought charges, but they have not brought factual evidence. They have brought he say, she say, which the cameras have already discredited. So, unless you can bring factual evidence to the floor, which we have seen none so far from me, I haven't seen any. And I have looked at the different hearings that they've had in Michigan and in Pennsylvania, and I've only heard trumped up charges by people supposedly who were monitoring the situation, and some who were working in the situation. Quite passionate by some, and some quite alarmist. But at the end of the day, trumped up charges, no substance. He say, she say. So, until I see actual evidence of such, for which no one has brought forward, then I disagree in anything being said by Donald Trump or by any of his associates to be anything else but trumped up charges and lies. And Trump is known as a liar. And he said before the election, if he hadn't won the election, it would have been stolen from him. So he created the narrative, which means he lied. If there were any issues with elections, those should have been dealt with before the elections actually happened. So that's all I have to say about that. I don't really care to go. I could go into 100 million other things that, and I could show you irregularities. I could show you things that really did happen in the upcoming elections that happened, but I won't. Because there are people who believe in the process and they believe in how to take action concerning a process. So I am not about to stand here and talk about that. If you can't get a conviction in the courts, you can't get an ongoing case in the courts from many different states with many different judges in charge of these courts, whether it be Democratic or Republican judges or known appointed Trumpian Republican judges. If you can't even get them to agree on what you're doing and they're throwing out your cases left, right, and center, guess what? Guess what? You need to evaluate the so-called truth that was spoken to you. Almost an hour here. So, in short, all you have received and all you've been acting on are a bunch of lies. Now, some of the people who are acting on this, who did their violence down in D.C., knew they were lies, but they just wanted a reason to enact their agenda and to be violent. That's why I don't think people are talking about poor people down in the Capitol who went to storm the Capitol. No. A lot of those people, that's what they came down to do, storm the Capitol. And they'll tell you that. So, they're not innocent. All right, so I have said what I had to say. And one thing I can give people, which is a motivation, which is something that's positive, is when you put your mind to do something, There's nothing to really stop you except for yourself and God. That's how they built the Tower of Babel. That's how people got successful in this life. So if people can put their minds to doing something evil, then you can put your mind even more so. And there's more of you that want to do positive things in this world than there are of you who want to do negative things in this world. And I see it. Even the people who view my videos, I see them who try to do positive things in this world. And I really applaud you 100% for that. Whether there are differences of opinion. I want to give a big shout out to Uncle, what's his name? Shucks, I forgot his name. He does some really simple videos, and really it's a great job he does. Um, I forgot his name. That's crazy. But I just want to wish you all guys a blessed day. The remainder of it, stay safe. I've told you guys some alternative things that even Donald Trump advised you guys on. Bill Maher also speaks about this. See, there are overlapping things we can agree on, all of us, and we must always be able to be teachable and to get as much information as we possibly can. And one of the most important things, and I'm not a pro-mask person to this day, right? You guys know that. But having said all of that, you do understand that there are lines that we must maintain. And, no matter who it is, they are not immune to the consequences of their actions. I could know, for example, let's say, for instance, my best friend goes and commits murder. Do I condone that murder because he's my best friend? Fuck no. Relationships are separate to actions and consequences. So you must understand that given a particular situation, a certain degree of action must be taken. So that's what I have to say. I hope that you guys have a great day, if you can. This scar on America's liberties is it went through, the American Revolution. It went through a civil war, and now, another challenge to it. I understand the underlying pieces that are causing this to be what it is, but I will tell you this: if we can get through this very delicate patch right here, I'm pretty sure what comes behind it is a blessing. But first, we must navigate through these treacherous waters for at least 2-3 years, I guess, of more of this. Because I do believe to get people on the same page somewhat, not on the same page, everybody's not going to ever be on the same page, but like somewhat on the same page, and to keep terrorism, homegrown terrorism, in order, will call for about 2-3 years. Hopefully by then, the pandemic's long since gone and it's part of a history, and people find much more logistical and sensible ways to handle these things. I feel a certain degree of stability in our president that is coming up. I think that is definitely called for a sort of calming presence, but a sort of calming influence. And as to the former president, yeah, he's in some hot water. He's going to be in some hell, and that's on him. That's just based on his actions, causality. He's done some good things, so hopefully people can remember him for some of the good things he's done. But absolutely, what has happened here is probably going to overshadow him and be the the uh, the marquee thing that he's going to be remembered by. Um, and it's just amazing. It's amazing that people have not denounced him as a terrorist and immediately have removed him from office. In fact, they should have removed him from office already. I shouldn't be even talking about this right now. I should be talking about this in the past tense. Well, the President of the United States has been removed from office for inciting a hit on Congress and the Senate. I should be talking about this in the past tense. He'd been arrested and he's about to be tried. Of course, he is a diplomat, so he may have diplomatic immunity, but we will see how far it goes with this. Hopefully, speedy action can occur and the full brunt of the law should be applied. I am assuming somehow his status, because his status was once president, that will afford him some opportunities that the average person will not be afforded. But this is a sad day in America's history. And the course of action has to be taken in a very serious and very extreme way. I am what you need. I have not been happy and gleeful and glad to speak about this. And even when Donald Trump is removed from office, I will not be happy and glad and rejoicing about it. It had been a very sad day. So hopefully this is a lesson to the American people to be careful who you elect for office. You don't just elect any old person because they're an outsider. There's nothing wrong with electing an outsider, but that outsider should be thoroughly vetted. You people knew who this guy was, and yet you voted for him. Hillary Clinton would have been an exponentially better option. But again, you can hold people accountable. You need to hold people accountable. But anyway, it went the way it went. God had it the way it went. And now God must guide us out of this. If we're ever to see the light of day and democracy to be preserved. Peace to you guys.